welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something pretty fascinating, a perspective we're calling Greenbacks Ghost, a monetary expose.
That's right. We're looking at what our source presents as this, hidden history of America's financial system.
A real struggle for control over the nation's money, it seems.
Exactly. And our mission, really, is to trace the path described in our source, how U.S. money policy went from, this idea of a revolutionary debt-free currency.
Like the Greenbacks.
The Greenbacks, yes. All the way to the Federal Reserve System we have today. We actually start with what the source calls a chilling prophecy. It's attributed to Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, the one about a money power. I've heard that's controversial.
It is. Very controversial. Our source acknowledges it's fiercely disputed by establishment historians, often called a forgery even.
Right.
But the source insists its spiritual truth is undeniable, especially given the efforts it suggests to discredit it. So we're exploring if that perspective holds water, if the prophecy in this view came true.
Okay, let's dig in. This story really picks up, 1861? The Civil War starting, the unions basically broke.
Precisely, facing bankruptcy. And private bankers. They were reportedly offering loans, but at just crippling interest rates. We're talking 12%, maybe even up to 36%.
Wow. So Lincoln needed another way.
He did. And his answer, according to this account, was revolutionary. The 1862 Legal Tender Act. This brought in the Greenbacks.
And these were different, not like normal money then.
Totally different for the time. Our source calls them debt-free sovereign fiat money. Basically, paper money issued directly by the government, not backed by gold or silver reserves. Their value came from the government saying they were valuable.
Huh, and they actually used this to fund the war.
Quite a bit, yeah. About 15% of the Union war effort, apparently. A crucial lifeline.
But the banks weren't happy. The source says they reacted with fury.
Understandably, from their perspective. This bypassed them. They couldn't stop it completely, but they pushed hard for a compromise.
The exception clause, what did that do exactly?
Yes. A devastating compromise, the source calls it. It meant greenbacks were legal for most things, but import duties and the interest on government debt still had to be paid in gold.
Ooh, okay, so gold instantly becomes more valuable than greenbacks.
Exactly. It made gold superior. Bankers could buy up greenbacks cheap, then demand gold from the government for those specific payments. It was a mechanism, the source argues, for shifting wealth directly into their hands.
Sneaky. Okay, moving on. The source calls the next big event the crime of the century. That sounds dramatic.
It refers to the Coinage Act of 1873. What it did, kind of quietly, was demonetize silver. It stopped the minting of silver dollars.
Took silver out of the money system.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It pushed the U.S. onto a strict gold standard, only gold. The immediate effect. It massively shrank the amount of money circulating in the country.
Less money around. That means deflation, right? Prices fall.
Severe deflation, yeah. Money became worth more. But that's terrible if you owe debt. Farmers, debtors, they were crushed. Their debt stayed the same, but the money they earned bought less, or rather, was harder to earn.
And that connects to the Panic of 1873.
Directly triggered it, according to this source. And this economic pain, it fueled the whole populist movement. Think farmers rising up against the banks, the railroads, the elites.
Which leads us to William Jennings Bryan, the Cross of Gold speech.
A huge moment. 1896. You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold. He tied the fight for silver directly to, this bigger battle for who controls the nation's money. Monetary sovereignty.
Fast forward a bit, early 1900s, the source talks about a money trust. What was that?
It describes this small group, a cabal really, of Wall Street investment bankers. J.P. Morgan is the big name, but Rockefeller interests were involved too. They supposedly controlled the flow of capital, deciding who got loans, who didn't.
Like a chokehold on the economy.
That's the picture painted. And the Pujo Committee in Congress, around 1912, actually did investigate and confirm a huge concentration of financial power.
Now, the Panic of 1907, the source has a pretty controversial take on this one. Not just a panic, but staged.
Yeah, it presents it as a kind of calculated performance, problem-reaction solution. The problem is the panic, which the source suggests Morgan and his allies maybe didn't start, but certainly allowed to worsen, creating fear and chaos.
Okay. So what's a reaction?
Public outcry. People demanding stability, demanding the government do something to prevent these panics.
And the solution?
Was a central bank. A solution the source claims they already had planned. This is where Jekyll Island comes in.
The secret meeting. November 1910.
Super secret. A private island off Georgia. You had Senator Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller's father-in-law, by the way, J. Morgan's top partner, the president of Rockefeller's National City Bank, Paul Warburg, a European banking expert.
Big guns.
Absolutely. Meeting in secret to draft the plan for a central bank, the Aldrich Plan. Basically, a private banking cartel to control money and credit, with very little government say-so.
But the Aldrich Plan failed in Congress, right? It was too obviously banker-controlled.
It was. So the source says it got repackaged. Renamed a Glass-Owen bill, which became the Federal Reserve Act.
How did they repackage it, make it look less like a cartel?
They created an illusion, the source argues. An illusion of decentralization with these regional Fed banks, and an illusion of public control because the president appointed the board members.
But underneath,
the source insists it was still fundamentally that privately owned cartel structure they designed on Jekyll Island. Control over issuing money, setting interest rates effectively in private hands.
and they passed this quickly.
Rushed it 3 out. December 23rd, 1913. Right before Christmas, lots of Congress members already gone home for the holidays. President Wilson signed it.
And Congressman Lindbergh Sr. warned about it.
He did. Called it the most gigantic trust on earth. The worst legislative crime of the ages. There's also that quote, sometimes disputed, attributed to Wilson later, regretting he'd unwittingly ruined my country. So from this perspective, the Federal Reserve Act wasn't some great reform. It was the final victory for this money power they'd been warning about.
A system, the source argues, that locked in private control over public money.
That's the core argument, yes. Formalizing what figures like Jefferson, Jackson, Lincoln, Bryan had supposedly fought against.
And looking at the record since 1913, the source points to instability like the Great Depression, obviously.
And relentless inflation. The value of the dollar has just plummeted. The consumer price index is 15 times higher compared to the century before the Fed, where prices actually fell overall.
And moral hazard. We saw that term used regarding the 2008 crisis. What's that mean here?
Moral hazard is basically when you're protected from the consequences of risky behavior, you're more likely to engage in it. So the idea that big banks knew they'd likely get bailed out by the Fed or the government?
Encourage more risk-taking.
That's the argument. The system itself creates that hazard.
Okay. So, wrapping this up. Given this whole narrative about the Greenbacks, the fight over silver, Jekyll Island, the Fed's creation, the subsequent inflation and crises, what does this story, this perspective, tell you, the listener, about this creature from Jekyll Island, and whether that old prophecy, disputed or not, feels fulfilled? Something to think about.